Hi, guys, and welcome to the This Week in Hollywood podcast. Unfortunately, the first 30 minutes of this episode had really bad audio to the point where you can't really hear anything. I went ahead and took those out. Unfortunately, you missed most, if not all, of the Candyman review. We both really like this movie. I would definitely recommend it. Obviously, I can't do it justice here with this little intro, but definitely check that movie out. I am going to drop us right in as we are at the tail end of the Candyman review, about to give the rating. Once again, sorry for the audio issues, but thanks for tuning in.
Candyman kills everybody. Candyman does not care. He kills everybody but Helen. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And so I get really kind of aggravated whenever sequels or anything kind of break the rule of whatever thing that they're in. Get weird with it, change stuff up. I really don't mind. It's that's the one rule. It's one of his things is that if you say his name, you die. And then that didn't happen in this one. So it was it's a little frustrating. Anyway, rant over. Candyman
As always,
2021 is fine.
Yes. I would say it's an okay movie. Not as good as this one. I think this one's definitely better. Wrapping up though, as always, what would you give this one out of 10?
This is a 9 out of 10 for me. I love it. I love the pacing. I love that it's such a story. It's a movie. It's a story that paints itself in a horror movie picture. It's not a horror movie first and foremost. I love things like that. 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. I would give this 7.5, pretty close to an 8. If that ending was nailed better, I'd probably give it an 8, but I think 7.5 is where I'm at.
I love it.
And then, so that's the end of Reese Recommends. We are going to hold off what I've got for the end of the episode.
Little tease.
But love the movies you picked. Great spread of movies. Really opened my eyes to stuff that I hadn't seen before.
Thank you.
Great picks. I can't wait to see the Halloween picks when that's coming up.
All kinds of ideas.
But next, we are going to be covering one trailer this week. It is a horror movie trailer. I saw this before the last Voyage of the Demeter in theaters.
You saw this in theaters?
I saw this trailer played at a theater.
That's crazy. That's kind of crazy. I did not expect that.
The first 20 seconds of this trailer, when I was sitting in the theater, I looked at my mom and my dad next to me, and we're all like, is this a real movie? We are talking about Slotherhouse, a killer sloth that is going to go around and murder people. I'm like, I can't be in on this movie at all. It seems too ridiculous.
I'm in on this for one reason. I saw it in the docket of what we were going to talk about. Saw the thumbnail and I was like, okay. These gimmicky horror movies, you have Velocipaster, all these kind of things. I'm like, that's never really interested me. Just because these movies are a lot of times you'll have these things like that where it's not even a movie, it's just a concept and then just gets dragged out for 90 minutes. I'm like, that'd be a really funny 4-minute YouTube video, but then you throw a bunch of money at it and try to sell tickets to it. And it's that's not good.
I don't
very jive with that. The one thing I am in on this, it opens, the first shot is this girl in the bathroom, in the shower. And for that alone, I'm like, okay, they get it. I'm like, these people get slashers. It seemed like they understand the slasher genre. They get the nuances. And so I'm like, okay, maybe. I still feel like I'll probably miss it when it comes out and then we'll never see it. But I have a little bit of hope that I might go check it out and it be okay.
I don't know if it can be. I mean, the puppet looks so bad of the sloth. It's just
Well, I think it needs to. I think the worse it looks, the better it could be. You can't have that thing looking too good. It needs to look as herky-jerky as possible.
The only way I would see this is if the reviews are coming out and it's okay, the sloth moves as fast as a normal sloth. That would drive me enough to go see it. Because at one point in the trailer, it raises its claw up to kill somebody, and it's super slow. And I'm like, okay, if you do that the whole time, it might be fun to watch. But if it's just a really bad generic slasher, and its drive to get people in is that there is a sloth killing people,
for sure.
I feel like it's just going to be too boring.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it's going to be anything good. You know what I mean? Anything like this where it's just, the name is funny, it's well, it's going to be bad. And the more I think about it, the less I want to go see it. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for the trailers then. Moving on. Got some brief news. First up, Oppenheimer is killing it and has gotten, I think it's a 2-week extension on its IMAX run, which is
Hell yeah.
actually kind of ridiculous because I know
Yeah.
Blue Beetle is coming out soon. Um,
Boo.
it's got decent reviews, but that's how it always goes with these premieres. They get good reviews because the people that go to the premiere want to get invited back, so they're not going to slam the movie. I think that it might just completely flop as in Blue Beetle. I don't see.
Oh my
Honestly,
God, no.
I kind of think with all like the video essays I'm seeing now, and especially just the box offices of the recent Marvel movies, I think like the superhero genre is kind of on the way out already.
Yeah, I think people don't care anymore. Like it's just people are just exhausted by it. I mean, you have
Exactly.
one coming
Yeah,
out every
they've
two
really
months
just
between Marvel and DC, and Blue Beetle's a weird one because, like, I remember whenever Batman the Brave and the Bold, which was a cartoon probably right around 2010 ish, on Cartoon Network, and like Blue Beetle was in it. I was like, Blue Beetle's cool. Like, as someone who's like didn't read comic books, I'm like, Blue Beetle is like one of my favorite comic book characters I just know of, and I
yeah.
just like am not interested in this really too much at all. Again, like you said, like if it gets some great response, like I'll happily go see it, but it doesn't move the needle for me at all as far as superhero movies
Yeah.
goes. Even just like a character coming out that we haven't seen in live action before, even that I'm interested in, like there's just nothing moving the needle here for me at the moment.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like the people that are saying that have seen this already, the early screenings are like, this is the best DC movie, but then of course you have to put a parentheses, not including the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. And it's like, okay,
Right.
but that's not a very high bar to cross. And like the more news that is coming out about this DC reboot, first of all, I'd love these movies to do well because I think James Gunn deserves to make these movies. Like after the Suicide Squad, like that was fun and I enjoyed that movie. But it's like it's rebooting with this movie as its first one, but then the Aquaman movie is still coming out, which is the old timeline because that Aquaman one made $1 billion, so there is no chance of
Yes.
Aquaman 2. There's like talks of a third Wonder Woman, which after 1984, I have no interest in seeing that anymore. And it's like they can't just come up with a concrete idea of what they want to do. And I feel like Marvel has run this superhero genre into the ground with the absolute volume and the recent lack in quality in their movies. And DC just does not know what's going on. They are asleep at the wheel doing whatever they think, and that's ruined their side. And I feel like now, especially with like Barbie coming out, which was, it's an existing property, but a standalone movie, did insanely well. 1.2 billion at the box office. Oppenheimer's a rated R 3-hour biopic that just crossed 650 million and is kicking a superhero movie out of its opening week in IMAX. Like, there's definitely some show of the slowdown of the superhero genre. Kind of happy about that.
Yeah, I'm excited as well, and I think we'll see the effects of that in a few years. And I think DC's really just kind of fumbled the bag with the way they've handled this James Gunn thing because it's just like people are so confused at the way that it's going down because it's like he's come out and say that like Blue Beetle is not a movie in his universe. Like he's like Blue Beetle is the first character in my new universe, but I don't know that this movie necessarily will be canon in his universe, but I think this Blue Beetle will be, which is weird and confusing in itself.
It's so weird because
but then people think it's a
like
James Gunn movie, but I'm like, it's not a James Gunn movie. He's just saying that he's taking this one over. And then like Gal Gadot's come out and she said that she's going to be in the new thing, but like no one else has confirmed that. And so that's confusing. Like it's really baffling, but
it's extremely weird. So especially with them like coming out and being like the Flash is restarting everything. And then I don't know if you've seen the Flash.
Yes, I have. It's like, don't do that. Like, don't try to make it where it kind of, turns into something else. No. Just say, we are going to release these next 3 movies or however many. And then after that, James Gunn's thing is a new thing. Like,
that's the thing is like, why
make like open up a little side door and kind of sneak out the back and be like, now look at everything. Just like,
that's
this hard.
What I don't get is it's like you're just saying, James Gunn is taking this character, but this is not a movie in his universe. Right. The Flash restarted the universe to bring in George Clooney as Batman, but there's no chance he's doing any other movies. So I guess that's its own reboot to a universe that lasted 5 minutes at the end of that movie. It's like they can't just stop and figure it out. I'm 100% think that they got screwed with Christopher Nolan doing the Dark Knight trilogy because he's like, I'm doing these 3, I'm done. And also they're going to be some of the best movies ever made, even best comic book movies ever made, and then you guys are constantly going to be living in that shadow. And it's like, how do you climb out of that? And then the tragedy with Zack Snyder and his Justice League, and that getting butchered, and then re-releasing it, so you have two of the same movie, and then trying to turn it into Marvel. It's ridiculous. It is fun to like watch because, you know, when there's a car accident, you can't stop but look. So it's fun to see this thing just go off the rails. But at the same time, it's like as you're explaining it to me, I'm like, you have to do homework to figure out what movies and what characters now count, what don't count. It's like, just make a good movie.
I completely agree. Yeah. So hopefully, and that's what they brought James Gunn in to do. And the fact that they're like just not letting it like be a hard set on that. It's like, you're like, get out of your own way. Like, quit trying to make everything tie into each other. It's like they're so stuck on this multiverse idea. Because for a while they were like, well, not everything's going to tie together, but like sometimes some things might cross over and that might not mean anything. Like they were kind of trying to do the thing where like Suicide Squad and the Suicide Squad had, you know, Harley Quinn overlapped, but they're not the same at all. Like, that's fine. Okay, are you doing that? Now you're not doing that. Like, just do something. We don't care what it is. Yeah, just commit to something. It's like they're trying to like leave all the doors open for like any chance of possible success, but they're not walking towards any of the doors. They just keep opening more of them, and it's just more cold airs running in the house.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what else is there to say? We could go on with that for hours.
Yeah,
obviously,
didn't even have that on the doc. I don't even know how we started talking about that.
I know, but you know, it is what it is. I'm sure we'll cover more of this stuff when these eventually fizzle out. But going into the next topic, and this kind of relates because there are some superhero movies on this list. We are going to be doing a list that came out called the top 10 anticipated sequels of the next year. Now, I am not extremely knowledgeable of what sequels are coming out next year, but based on this list, I am not extremely excited, and I noticed one movie that should be on this list that is not on this list. So we will get to that. Coming in at number 10, though, Inside Out 2. Now, I never saw Inside Out 1. Don't care. Yeah, don't care.
I did see it. I saw it at a drive-in, and it made me really sad, and I didn't like it.
There you go. We're going to run through these that we don't care about, and we'll get – because there are some later that I do actually care about. Next up, Kung Fu Panda 4, don't care. Saw the first one when I was like 8, and they're still making these movies. Like, okay. This is what I want to talk about, because number 8 is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Have you heard the news of what they're going to do with this movie?
No.
This movie, now, first of all, writers and actors strike is still going on, showing no plans of slowing down whatsoever.
Oh, I did hear this. Yes.
They have said that no matter what, they are going to start filming this movie in December, which means if they have not finished the strike in December, they're just going to be making all the CGI shots. So any shots with Sonic in it are going to be made and ready to go this December. I hate this. This is terrible.
Yeah, it's like what they did, like, well, not only for them, like, moving on without, you know, the ethics of moving on while there's a strike going on, or its own thing. But also, it's like, what are we doing here? Like, when, like, Tom and Jerry movie came out, it was like, what the hell is that? Would you do, just set up a tripod in the middle of the street and just set it there for 3 minutes, and then you animate the cat run around? Like, it's just, I don't know, it just seems really silly.
Yeah, and again, not to go back into a rant on superhero movies, but, like, the Black Widow movie sucked. And it came out that all of the action scenes in that were done like months before the script was written. So then they were just writing the script to get those action scenes together. And it's like, this is going to be the same thing. It's not going to be good. Like, why can't you just wait? Like, these movies have made money. You could definitely wait.
I agree.
And then next up, again, another just Sony trying to swing and most likely missing once again. Venom 3, don't care. The second one was so bad.
I never saw the first one, but I saw the second one, and it was just appalled at what that thing was.
Oh my God, dude, what was that? That second movie is a definition of a movie that only released for the post-credit scene. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point.
6, Despicable Me 4, don't care.
It's like, is that really anticipated? Are people really like got their finger on that one? It's the fourth one.
Fourth one. In my opinion, the kids' movies, you can never say are anticipated because they're obviously geared towards kids. Now, I like the first Despicable Me that I saw 13 years ago. I don't like them anymore because I
you saw it 3 times a year in school. It seems like that was like one of the movies that like every classroom had, and if there was any event going on in school, it was always Despicable. For us, it was always Despicable Me, and Bedtime
Diary of a Wimpy.
Stories. You know, Bedtime Stories with Adam Sandler. We watched
Diary
that
of a
so
Wimpy
many
Kid.
times. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. That's yeah.
It's like, yeah, these movies can be good, but there's like no anticipation because the people that
No.
enjoyed the earlier ones have grown up now and like and moved on. So I don't know why it's on this list. And then just going into a movie nobody cares about. Bad Boys 4 is coming out next year. Did you even see the third one that came out like 2 years ago?
No, I looked at that. I was like, who is anticipating? Like, who is excited for that? Who even is aware of that? Much less anticipating it.
Moving past it, because now we're getting into the final four movies that I actually care about and am excited for.
Yeah, this one makes sense to me.
Gladiator 2. What a banger. We covered this earlier with a cast list. I mean, Ridley Scott directing, actors that are insanely good coming to this film. I'm going to look those up real quick if you want to talk about this so I can get that.
Yeah, I mean, Ridley Scott directing again. I mean, the man just doesn't stop. I don't think.
And the thing is, you're going to get a Napoleon movie this year by Ridley Scott, which is only going to
before this
invigorate you for this even more because it's going to be like, you know, an older time period movie. It's going to be great. Gladiator 2, Denzel Washington, I'm in. Pedro Pascal, I'm in. Paul Mescal, I'm in. Joseph Quinn, Jamon Hansu. I mean, it is a stacked cast. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be so tight, and yeah, I can't wait to dive into that. Talk about some Ridley Scott.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm jacked.
Definitely will watch the first Gladiator in anticipation. I love that movie. Even talking about this is getting me excited for Napoleon. I made the claim earlier. Battle for the Oscars this year is Napoleon and Oppenheimer. Quote me. We will cover it in the coming months. Going to number 3, Joker 2, Folie à Deux. What is your take on that?
Cannot wait. I think it's so cool. So excited.
Yes,
like
I'm really.
This is what you do with a superhero movie. Like it's going to be a musical and artistic and weird. Like
yes,
I'm all about it.
Lady Gaga, Harley Quinn. Like these are interesting. They're not just throwing random people in. Like I genuinely feel like they could do a good job in this role.
Yes, and Lady Gaga is one where it's like she's almost getting to the point where was a little annoying just to like be around because she was just popping up in so much stuff.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, okay, I don't know. Like maybe you're kind of getting a little annoying, but this makes so much sense for her.
Yeah. This fits exactly for her. Like she is Harley Quinn. Like all those outfits she would wear, this is perfect for her. This is a perfect cast in my opinion.
Yep.
And she's done good work. I liked her in A Star Is Born. I did not like her in A House of Gucci, but I think with this kind of script and role, Todd Phillips, isn't a great director. He's made some good movies. I think he definitely did good with the first Joker, so I feel like he can do this. Coming from The Hangover, it's weird that the guy that made The Hangovers made these, but, he's done good, so I'm excited for that one.
Same here.
And number 2, Beetlejuice 2. I am definitely in on this. I don't know if you saw there's recent set picture leaks of Jenna Ortega on the studio of this, and also something got stolen from their set. Really interesting, but yeah, I mean, Tim Burton, it's one of these legacy sequels that keep coming back is really weird.
I know. I need to make a list of things that I want to see legacy sequels. Well, the answer is nothing. But if I had to pick 10, I think it'd be interesting to see what's still out there that would be interesting to be legacy sequeled. Maybe I'll do that for next week.
Yeah, and it's really
list that nobody asked for.
I will join you on that if you would like to do it. We'll talk about that.
Let's do it.
But then again, a legacy sequel again, jumping back into superhero movies. Michael Keaton just got The Flash, where he gets to be Batman. Now he gets to be Beetlejuice again. He's on a roll getting these. It's almost like who else in Hollywood right now is on the call with any agent that can be like, oh no, let's reboot this movie I was in 30 years ago. It'll work.
Right. Yeah. They're really sold on it. Yeah. You got some one-hit wonders that are just do it, man. This is it. This is what we've been waiting for.
This isn't going to lose money. And it's it's going to lose so much money.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see Tim Burton direct this and just kind of how his look of the film has changed.
Yeah.
Over the past almost 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really kind of excited to see how it looks compared to the original more than anything.
Really hoping because of that original, they don't overdo the CGI. You got to use the practical effects in this. Those practical
and I assume they will.
Are great. What has he directed besides the Wednesday show before this? Has he taken a big break directing movies?
Right before this, he did the Dumbo remake for Disney.
Okay.
He did the Dumbo remake, and then he did right before that he did Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then he did Big Eyes before that, which has its fan. I haven't seen it. Has its fans. Then he did Frankenweenie before that, which is
Okay.
pretty well regarded. Then Dark Shadows and Alice in Wonderland.
Gotcha.
And then there was before that was Sweeney Todd, Corpse Bride, Charlie and the
all the
Chocolate Factory, Big Fish. Yeah.
Favorite?
So he's due for like a good hit now.
Yeah, I would. I love some of his movies. My favorite by far has got to be Ed Wood. I'm a big Ed Wood lover. But I like Beetlejuice. I'm interested to see what he does with the sequel this far after.
Yep.
And then going into the last movie on the list, number 1, I don't know if I disagree or kind of agree just because the people that I know are going to be in this, but sure. Deadpool 3. What are your thoughts on that?
As far as it being on the list, I was like a little surprised to see it first, but I think it makes sense. I think if you maybe were to poll every single person in the world, Deadpool 3 might be the most anticipated movie just across the board. Just like I feel like just like general interest across everything, you're gonna get like everyone's like pretty well somewhat interested in Deadpool, right? You're gonna have like your pockets of fans everywhere else, but like I would say this makes sense to be the most widely anticipated movie. Yeah,
I would agree.
Sequel.
Do you want to add anything to this? Because I have 2 that I think deserve to be on this list that are not on this list.
Off the top of my head, Scream 6.
Scream 6? Okay.
Yeah.
I can...
That's what
I'm not huge into the Scream sequels, but I could see that. Yep. My 2 would have to be, first of all, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2.
Sure.
That's anticipated for me. And then my probably... I don't know if I'd say the most anticipated. Actually, I am going to say the most anticipated is Furiosa. I love Mad Max Fury Road. It is one of my favorite action movies of the past couple decades. I'm so excited for the sequel. Call. It's been in development for so long. Love George Miller. Can't wait to see this movie. Definitely think it should have been on this list.
I think that should have slotted in for sure. That's a good call.
Yep. And then we're going to round off the episode with one more list. Now, if you have not seen the last 2 episodes, we've been covering the top 10 must-see movies of each decade. We've done the 70s. We've done the 80s. We're on to the 90s. Now, the 70s list was decent. The 80s list was terrible. Honestly, the biggest train wreck of a list I've ever seen. I got to say this 90s list is probably as close to my list as you can get. I think all 10 movies on this list are on my list. I would just rearrange them, and I have rearranged them in preparation. I know we talked about getting our lists ready for this week, so I'm excited to see what you think. You have not heard this list yet, so I'm interested. We're going to start off near the end of the 90s. Number 10, 1998's Saving Private Ryan.
Yep.
Has to be on this list. This is the best war movie ever made. Sorry, Dunkirk. Sorry, Hacksaw Ridge. Sorry, 1917. This is, in my opinion, the best one. Great performances all around. Just really captured the brutality of it. Definitely deserves to be on here.
I can't disagree with that in any regard.
And then number 9, 1991's The Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, 100%. Completely all in on that.
Yes, so far so good. Number 8. Now this is where I could see some differences. Is going to be 1995's Seven.
Interesting.
I think David Fincher definitely deserves to be on this list. I don't know if I'd put 7 on it, though.
Yeah, I wrestled with that, putting this one on my list also, actually.
Okay.
It did not make it onto my list, but I had considered it. It was like, does it go on here? Does it not? Like, I had a lot of the same ideas. And thinking about Fincher, I think is this his only thing on here?
I do not know. I've tried to not look at the list either.
Oh, okay. All good. We'll see where he goes from here. But yes, I think it's an interesting pick.
Yes.
So, okay.
Number 7, in my opinion, too low. Shocker. This is probably one of my tops on my list, but that we will get to is 1990's Goodfellas.
Yep.
Gotta be higher. In my opinion. 7 is too low. There's not much to say. This is pretty much a perfect movie, in my opinion. It is the best gangster movie. I like this more than Godfather. You can call that sacrilege, if you will, but that is my take. What else is there to say about it?
Yeah, fair point.
Next up is number 6. This one definitely deserves to be on here just for how much it changed the entire cinematic universe of Hollywood when it came out. 1999's The Matrix.
Yes, The Matrix. You could put it number one.
Yeah, you honestly could. It's pretty far up there for me. Sequels, including the Legacy reboot, are not great. But the original.
I disagree.
Oh, okay.
I do not. They had their defenders. I particularly do not like Reloaded or Revolutions. I think Resurrections is a masterpiece. It's a 9 out of 10.
Interesting. We might have to talk about that sometime.
Okay, I'd have to rewatch it again to really sharpen up my my talking points on it. But I came out of Resurrections buzzing. Loved it.
It was odd seeing it opening weekend in an empty theater, but I didn't particularly love it, but it was all right. I don't know. I'd have to see it again. One movie that I love watching and seeing again is number 5's 1999 Fight Club. Fincher's back on the list. That was the
thing. I was like, if you're going to put 7 on the list and not Fight Club, that would have been crazy. So,
yeah, okay. I would agree. Then jumping to 4. This is a movie that I don't know. I've heard a lot of mixed things on. A lot of people love it. I enjoy it. I want to hear what you have to say. 1994's Forrest Gump.
No. I don't think. Again, it's like how do you structure the list? I guess that's fine. I don't think Forrest Gump is anything particularly remarkable, but
yeah, I mean,
sure,
I'm in the same
fine.
thing.
It's on the list. It's whatever. Like, again, it's kind of like everyone talks about it. It's quoted all the time. I get it. I think it's a fine movie. It's like it's a 3-star movie, right? It's a 6 out of 10. Like, I don't hate Forrest Gump, but like, whatever.
Okay, next up, number 3, definitely deserves to be on this list. 1994's Pulp Fiction.
Yes. Yeah, and I almost
near his best, in my opinion.
What do you think is his best?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay, sure.
I'm also a Hateful Eight enjoyer. I think Hateful Eight's my number 2 from him.
I saw Hateful Eight for the first time last month at the New Beverly Cinema at a midnight showing. They did the roadshow version and loved it.
Yeah, I think it's underrated in my opinion. I love that movie. But
I think Jackie Brown's still my favorite. But
Jackie Brown's still I think that might be my least favorite.
Oh, Jackie Brown rips, man.
I know it's got its defenders. I know it has its
Jackie Brown's tight. But yes.
Number 2, I want to know what you think about this one. I don't know if I'd put it this high. I definitely don't think it deserves 2. Schindler's List from 1993.
And just whatever. I just don't want to talk about Schindler's List.
Okay.
Like sure, I get it. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, like Schindler's List, great movie, like really well done, incredible on the subject matter. But it's just, who wants to talk about it? That doesn't give me any juice in your list because you put Schindler's List on there.
Now
Schindler's List not on the list for me.
Okay, I enjoy it. I think it's on my list near the bottom. But I'll
and
tell
it's
you
fine.
what.
It totally deserves to be there. It just is like, whatever. Don't care. Kind of. What has not been said about Schindler's List?
It's incredible. It's a great movie.
Yes.
I've got to say though, I think this list nailed its number 1. I really want to hear what you think about this number 1 pick from 1994. Nominated for 7 Oscars and won 0 of them. My biggest snubs ever. Shawshank Redemption.
I kind of hate that.
I would consider Shawshank Redemption to be one of the few perfectly made movies. I love Shawshank Redemption. It's one of my favorites.
I'm not a Shawshank hater, but I'm certainly not a Shawshank lover. Again, I think that's a 5 out of 10 movie. Like, it's fine.
Whoa, that is sacrilege. Yeah, I mean, this is honestly a perfect movie to me. I love Shawshank Redemption. I know that some people may not like it, but I think it is as close to a perfect movie as you can get.
All right. I haven't seen it since 2020 was the last time I watched it. I would like to watch it again, but yeah, I think it's a pretty okay movie for me.
Okay. Now we're gonna give our list. I'll go first. I've got mine ready here. I'm sticking with Shawshank at number 1. I mean, what else is there to say? I love that movie.
That's crazy. At number 1?
Yeah, I love it that much. I am going to go Goodfellas at 2. Has to be there. It's almost a perfect movie in my opinion. Then I'm going to go Saving Private Ryan at 3. Big war movie guy, so that's up there for me. I'm going Pulp Fiction at 4. I'm going
Yes, I think that's fine. I
The
agree.
Matrix at 5, moving it up,
Okay.
one place.
Yeah.
I'm going Fight Club at 6. Love Fight
Yep.
Club. I'm going Silence of the Lambs at 7. Love Silence of the Lambs. I would put 7 at 8, which is not just for the joke, but I do think 7 deserves it.
Sure.
I'm going to go Forrest Gump 9 and Schindler's List 10. I like them. Don't get me wrong. They're great movies, but, they're definitely genre defining for the 90s. But I think these other ones do much better than they do.
I agree with that. Okay, so I kind of have my list made, so I'm kind of like putting things together here still.
Gotcha. Go for it. Take your
Well,
time.
I've got like a giant list of like things. Okay, and I'm kind of as I'm trying to piece everything over here. I'm realizing I have a little less room than I thought I did. Okay, so we're just gonna go for it here.
Okay.
In no particular order, Blair Witch Project gets on the list. Obviously, one of the most phenomenal in the way that it was such a phenomenon, that movie, and the chokehold it had on America at the time. The Blair Witch Project, it didn't invent a genre, but it basically invented a whole subgenre of horror. There was found footage before it, but Blair Witch Project, I mean, few movies have had the impact on cinema as the Blair Witch Project, whether you want to accept that or not. Blair Witch Project. Yeah, well, I wasn't saying to you necessarily, but just to that angry listener at home. Yeah. Okay, Blair Witch Project is on the list. I'm going to put The Sandlot here. If I was making the list, this would probably come in at 10. But I was like, The Sandlot needs to make the list. The Sandlot bangs. I used to love watching The Sandlot as a kid, and then kind of like hadn't watched it for years and years and years. It was like, The Sandlot probably isn't really that good. And watched it again, and it was like, this movie rules. And this is what being a kid is about. And The Sandlot rocks. Putting that in there. I don't think I have room for that. Don't think I have room for that. I'm not going to put it on there. Okay, I was going to put Before Sunrise on the list, but I don't think I could put Before Sunrise on the list because Before Sunset is just so much better. Even though Before Sunrise is a 10 out of 10 movie, Before Sunset is like a 13 out of 10 movie. And just for that alone, Before Sunrise can't be on the list, I think, with other things that need to be on here.
Let me look that movie up. I've never heard of it.
Before Sunrise is like an 8 out of 10. You don't know Before Sunrise and Sunset?
No, I've never heard of it.
Oh my God. I was just talking to my mom about them the other day. Anyway, okay, Before Sunrise doesn't make the list.
I've got bad news. Before Sunset came out in the 2000s.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. And so I can't put it on the. I wasn't trying to put that on the list either. But I was I don't think I can look for Sunrise as a decade-defining movie when its sequel is so much better. Honorable mention. My one honorable mention goes to Before Sunrise. The next thing on the list, Boogie Nights. Paul Thomas Anderson has to be on there. Next on the list, Clueless. Of course, Clueless has to make the list. It's the best 2000s teen girl movie, even though it was released in 1995. This movie rocks. The only bad thing about it is that Paul Rudd's in it, and he gives a bad performance. And I like Paul Rudd. Not for this movie. Clueless. Next, Silence of the Lambs. Same as you. Everything you said, agree with. Titanic. Titanic is on the list. I can't believe that wasn't. Are you kidding me? Must-watch movies in the 90s, and you don't put Titanic?
I understand the cultural importance of that movie. I understand everything it did, but when I watch it, I'm just like, it's a love story on a boat, and it's nothing
totally
special.
Disagree. Titanic is everything. I used to think the same thing, and I never watched it. Watched it, loved it. I saw it in theaters twice in the past year. I saw it on the 3D re-release before Avatar 2 came out, and then I saw it a month later on film. I could watch that movie every single day. Titanic rocks. The Virgin Suicides, of course, is making the list. The movie that ended the 90s. Candyman, I'm also putting on the list.
Interesting.
And then I can't believe neither of these two, which if I don't have this ranked, but they would probably be 1 and 2 if I were to do it.
I know one of them.
Scream.
Yep.
How is that not on the list? again, like it's like, is there any movie more 90s? And the answer is no, unless it's Clueless. Like, or it's just like, dude, like Scream.
Listen, I'm not a big horror guy, so
no,
the
I'm not even
90s
saying
have
your
so
list. But
many
I'm
good
saying like
movies.
in whatever list we're pulling from here, like no Scream. David Fincher gets 2 picks on the list,
Okay,
and
I
like
can
you
agree
don't
with
put
that.
Scream on there. Scream makes the list, and Jurassic Park. Like
Yeah.
really, Jurassic Park's incredible. Like Jurassic Park probably used to be my favorite movie, and it's still probably my favorite blockbuster of all time because it's like the best one. Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I was wearing a Jurassic Park shirt today. So
nice. I'm gonna have to out myself here because I know my mom watches this podcast. Thank you for watching this and supporting me and my mother.
Shout out.
But she loves telling the story every time Jurassic Park is brought up that the first time I watched it and I was really young, I got so scared that my heart was beating so fast I could not finish the movie. There you go, Mom. Are you happy?
It's scary.
Everybody knows that. But yeah, I recently just got the 4K remaster of Jurassic Park, watched it. Holds up surprisingly well. Like, everything in that movie works still. Yeah. I love the performances. The special effects look great. I can understand that being on the list. I just think there's some better ones out there for mine.
I don't even know. I wasn't keeping track, so I don't know if that was 10, but it was pretty close.
That's close enough. Now, wrapping up, it is time. Reese had his 3 movies. I'm going to do 3 of my own movies
My
now.
time in the sun is over.
It is now my time to shine for 3 weeks. I'm so excited. I got to ask you first, and you kind of answered this with one of your picks on your list. How is your Paul Thomas Anderson knowledge?
My Paul Thomas Anderson knowledge is lacking, but I've seen some.
Which ones have you seen?
Yeah, I've seen 3.
Okay.
So guess.
I'm going to guess Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
Obviously. I'm going to guess There Will Be Blood.
Nope.
Oh, okay. How about...
I've almost watched There Will Be Blood so many times. And the thing is that's another one of those movies where it's like, had I not moved to Los Angeles, I would have seen it by now. But it plays just frequently enough, like on film in theaters in LA, to where I'm like, well, that's how I want to see it.
Okay, I understand that. So you've seen Boogie Nights. I'm going to guess Licorice Pizza.
Yes, I've seen Licorice Pizza a couple times. Actually, I just saw Haim in concert the other day, so I saw all your Licorice Pizza friends in life.
Hard 8?
No.
Phantom Thread?
No.
Inherent Vice?
No.
The Master?
No.
What's your last one?
Punch Drunk Love.
Okay, yeah, I can understand that. Well, we are not going to be watching one that you've already seen, luckily. We're going to be taking on, I don't know if I consider it my favorite, but definitely one that A, I haven't seen in a long time, and B, I think is done extremely well. We're going to be watching Magnolia.
That is such exciting news because I once started a movie podcast with one of my friends a couple years ago, and we never released any of it. I think we recorded 2 or 3 episodes. Never put anything out. But the next one we were going to do was going to be Magnolia, and then we quit.
Really?
Yeah, and so I'm excited to get to watch it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't want to spoil anything. Obviously, I haven't seen it in a while either, so I don't remember exactly everything that goes on. But just like, God, the way it's almost like it feels like a Guy Ritchie movie in a way because there's so many of these different storylines that intersect. Great performances throughout. Tom Cruise's best performance, in my opinion, besides the meme pick of Tropic Thunder. Philip Seymour Hoffman at some of his best. Also love him in Punch Drunk Love. He's great in that. Adam Sandler's great in that too. That's probably Punch Drunk Love is probably my second favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. But excited to hear what you have to think on this. I'm glad you have not seen this. Really interested to hear what your take is on it. But yeah, so that's going to be it for the episode this week. We are going to be wrapping up here. Once again, as always, thank you guys for tuning in, supporting the channel. If you enjoyed what you saw here, please consider leaving a like down below. If you want to add to any of these conversations or add any thoughts to these movies, please consider leaving a comment. Stay up to date with my... all right, we're going to restart there. If you want to add anything to these discussions, please leave a comment down below. If you want to stay up to date with my content, consider subscribing. We do a podcast every Tuesday. And as always, we will see you next week.
Peace.